Te acordarás de mí toda la vida, te acordarás de mí.
It's very important to realize how this community came about and why it was named Martineztown. Of course, Jose Martinez, who was a resident of Old Town, which of course then was the center city, bought some land up here in the early 1800s. And although he did not establish his compound immediately, but his son did, and actually what you see here is a representation. Actually, this picture was taken in the late 1800s. The compound itself was established around the early 1840s. Okay, it was already in sort of this concept that you see here. Of course, some of these buildings that you're looking at in this picture are new buildings or under construction. But for example, the church, the Second Presbyterian Church, which was then a chapel, was built for his services. When I was a kid, there were houses in what is now the strip of Odelia, from the Sandhills down to Broadway, with the exception of a few of the fields that we had closer to Broadway, because that's where a lot of our farming was done. Martineztown and Santa Barbara was a rural community. We considered it a village at one time, self-sustaining for the most part, and had many grocery stores, its own laundry. We had our own bank system because we had our credit union, if you will. We had two churches. Obviously, the first church that was here was the Presbyterian Church, followed by the Catholic Church. My family came in way after the Martinezes. Actually, the history of my family is that going back in history a little bit, when Ms. Jose came in from Old Town to establish this compound here, he obviously broke away from the church and established the Presbyterian part of the church, Protestant church. Later on, the church recruited Catholics to come in and establish a community adjoining his community so that he would not dominate this part of the area, okay? So this is why you have the Catholic Church up here, sort of as a counter to the Presbyterian Church. This is an example of the type of housing that Martinez had in his compound, and also the types of houses that were established not only in his compound but outside his compound as well. Some of these houses you can still see in Martineztown. That area of town is probably the last remnants of how the village really looked and still resembles northern New Mexico villages. History will show you that Martineztown and Santa Barbara, more Martineztown than Santa Barbara, was actually aided a lot by the Presbyterian Church, because they started the social services area that we enjoy now. They started the teachings that a lot of the people still enjoy, and this is what concerned the Catholic Church, obviously. And this is why the educational system, the parochial system, was then established later on to sort of counteract that. But John Manal, when he started the Manal School, and then of course joined to provide the services that Martineztown enjoyed through the Presbyterian Church, obviously played a valuable role in the establishment and the stability of Martineztown. As a matter of fact, we recognize that, and in our most recent mural depicting, again, certain cultural aspects of our village, if you will, Martineztown, we honor him with a portrait, John Manal, and also we honor Placido Martinez because he was also instrumental in establishing not only the educational value, but also the Catholic parochial system that we enjoyed here for a while. I came from a family of 8. All of us were born here in Martineztown. I recall my mom and my dad obviously being devout Catholics. Obviously my dad was not able to go to church, but we would go to church every morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. We were up going to church for a 6:30 morning mass. And Dad would go off to work at the Springer complex. He worked for the Springer Transfer Company and Concrete Batching Company. And then Mom and I and some of my siblings would go to church in the morning.
All dressed up?
Well, you know, just dressed up, casual clothes, so that from there we would go to school, or I wouldn't. I'd come back home with my mom, of course, but my brothers and sisters would go to school here in this building, or at Albuquerque High School. What was there in the 40s and 50s and into the 60s, from Mountain Road, for example, all the way to what is now Indian School Road, the original alignment of Indian School Road, was the Springer, Mr. I think it's Shifani's property. And then he's the one that had the company Springer Corporation. And it was a sand and gravel transfer, moving and transfer company. I mean, it was a multitude of things that occurred in that one tract of land. It was a batching plant. It was many things. In other words, it actually offered opportunities for people who, my family and other families in the area, to go have employment. Okay, this was the industrial area of Albuquerque, Martinez. I got to see the last remnants of our farming effort. I got to see the acequia when it was running. I even swam in it. I did, you know, everything my brothers did, my sisters did in that acequia when they were young and they were older. I got to do when I was a kid and myself. You know, I was fortunate in that my family, when the family grew, the new house, the house that I live in, that I was born in, was actually created to accommodate the extended family that we have, that we once had.
Solamente una vez amé la vida, solamente una vez y nada más. Una vez nada más en mi huerto brilló la esperanza. La esperanza que alumbre el camino de mi soledad. Una vez nada más se entrega el alma con la dulce y total renunciación. Y cuando ese milagro realiza el prodigio de amarse, hay campanas de fiesta que cantan en el corazón. You belong to my heart.